Just a few hours before the US and Israel attacked Iran last Saturday, 6 anonymous crypto wallets placed their bets on Polymarket. When the first missile hit Tehran, those bets paid off, earning $1.2 million for correctly predicting the exact day of the strike. The timing of the trades raised questions about whether the traders had access to advanced information. Proponents argue that prediction markets aren't just about gambling, but about forecasting the future, and that they can be more accurate than polls and experts. Critics, however, warn that they are a dystopian experiment riddled with insider trading, manipulation, and even risks to national security. So, who is right? In this video, we'll break down what prediction markets really are, how they work, who's making money, and what's at stake if they keep growing. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. I'm Giovanni, let's start. Prediction markets are platforms where you place a wager on a future contract, the value of which is equivalent to the probability of a specific event happening. Here is an example of how it works. Let's say there is a prediction market asking, will it rain in New York tomorrow? At the start of the day, the yes option is trading at 40 cents. Which means the market thinks there is about a 40% chance of rain. Then a new weather report comes out, showing a storm moving in. People who see that information start buying yes shares, pushing the price up to 70 cents. Now the market is saying there is roughly a 70% chance of rain. If it actually rains, each yes share pays out $1. If it doesn't, it pays nothing. So the price moves as people react to new information and the market's prediction updates in real time. This is not a novelty as a concept. Prediction markets have existed for decades. One early example was the Iowa electronic markets. Launched in the late 80s, it allowed people to trade small amount of money on political and economic events. But only recently, with the rise of platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi, prediction markets have become global, mainstream tools. That's largely because of mobile access, improvement of UX, and of course, crypto infrastructure. Polymarket runs entirely on blockchain, specifically on Polygon, a layer 2 network built on Ethereum. It uses the stablecoin USDC to settle trades. All transactions are visible on-chain, meaning anyone can track individual bets and trading activity. And that adds an entirely new dimension. Another key difference between prediction markets and traditional gambling websites is that you don't bet against the house. You bet against another participant, a counterparty with a different view of the future. In theory, this removes a major conflict of interest. The platform makes money regardless of whether you win or lose. But that is not the main groundbreaking aspect of these platforms. Prediction markets are widely seen as reliable indicators of the likelihood of real-world events. The logic is simple. When people have money on the line, their predictions tend to be more accurate than traditional polls. Think about it. These numbers aren't produced by a centralized authority, like a panel of experts, a survey firm, or a media organization. They emerge from a global network of participants, all putting their own money behind what they believe will happen. Some describe this as a form of decentralized truth, a system where economic incentives push people to seek the most accurate possible prediction. And the data is free, public, and updated 24/7 in real time. This is not just theory. In the 2024 presidential elections in the US, Polymarket was well ahead of official polls in pricing the chances of Donald Trump's victory. That's a reason why outlets like CNN and CNBC have partnered with Kalshi to integrate prediction market data into their coverage. So are prediction markets really like crystal balls predicting the future? Well, not always. Some point out that in big, highly hyped events, market accuracy often breaks down. Prices can start reacting to headlines, hype, and crowd mood rather than to new information that actually changes the likelihood of an outcome. Some markets suffer from low liquidity, making them easy to manipulate. In those cases, a single large bet can move the odds dramatically, distorting the signal. In other cases, these markets are so precise and so well timed that they raise an entirely different concern: insider trading. As on-chain investigators found, 6 wallets made about $1.2 million on Polymarket by betting that the US would strike Iran by February 28, placing yes bets just hours before the attack occurred. Most of the wallets were funded only shortly before the strike and focused on that specific date. But that is just one example. In early January, a single anonymous user bet $30,000 on the downfall of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, winning about $400,000. He placed the bet just hours before Trump announced the night raid that shocked the world on January 3rd. These two high-profile cases led to speculation that someone inside the US security apparatus may be leaking classified information to make a profit. So far, however, no evidence has been publicly presented confirming insider involvement. Now, insider trading is obviously illegal in traditional markets, but on prediction markets, regulation is still catching up. Some even argue that insider trading is not a bug, but a feature of prediction markets. The idea is that it incentivizes leakers and insiders to bring exclusive information to the market, making predictions more precise.
If your goal is to actually, for the 99% of people trying to get signal about what's going to happen in the world, like is the Suez Canal going to be reopened or whatever, you actually want insider trading. You want, some admiral sitting on a ship in the Suez Canal who has really good information to be trading so you get better, higher quality signal out of them, right?
Armstrong even influenced the market himself, and he wasn't hiding it. In November, at the end of a company call, he intentionally said a phrase that was being actively bet on at the time.
I was a little distracted because I was tracking the prediction market about what Coinbase will say on their next earnings call, and I just want to, add here the words Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, staking, and Web3 to make sure we get those in before the end of the call.
It seems that the Coinbase CEO doesn't see a problem with this. In his view, he was simply injecting new information into the market. Of course, this dynamic raises serious questions about fairness and user protection. Non-insiders are clearly at a disadvantage and have much lower chance of making money on these platforms. But insider trading is not just a matter of customer protection. Prediction markets have been criticized for allowing people to profit from global catastrophes and tragedies. For example, in mid-November alone, there were almost $100 million at stake on markets related to the war in Ukraine. These bets are mainly on when the Russian army would capture specific towns or villages. Last year, there was even a market on Kalshi betting on whether Gaza would experience mass famine. First of all, that raises a moral issue. Profiting from human suffering, people's lives are directly impacted by these events, often in devastating ways, which makes betting on them at the very least distasteful. But ethics aside, there is also a national security risk. Prediction markets can create incentives to leak classified information, as in the case of the capture of Maduro. And the concern goes further. These markets don't just predict events, they could influence decision-making. Imagine a politician deciding on the possibility of military action while knowing that one outcome could lead to large profits on a prediction market. In that scenario, decisions affecting millions of lives aren't driven solely by the public interest, they are tied to financial bets. And that inevitably brings us to how these markets are regulated. Several countries have already banned prediction markets under gambling laws. Platforms argue this is the wrong classification, claiming they are financial markets, not gambling. In the United States, the Trump administration has been relatively favorable toward prediction markets. They are regulated at the federal level by the CFTC, since events contracts are treated as financial derivatives. But regulation remains complicated. The CFTC prohibits contracts tied to war, terrorism, or assassinations. So when Iran's supreme leader was killed last weekend, Kalshi settled its related market based on the price just before his death, instead of paying everyone the full winnings. Even though that was part of the market terms, many users were upset by how it was handled. Polymarket operates offshore on blockchain infrastructure, which makes enforcement difficult even when restrictions exist. In the US, a new bill aims to restrict officials from using prediction markets. That may not be enough to address national security risks, because insiders are not only elected officials. That's why some argue that certain categories of events should be excluded from prediction markets entirely. So here is our takeaway. Prediction markets are clearly here to stay, and in our view, they are not just a form of gambling. In the right circumstances, they can serve a real public purpose, offering relatively accurate and timely insights into the likelihood of future events. At the same time, these markets still operate in a regulatory gray area that creates real challenges around consumer protection, but also ethical and security concerns that haven't been addressed yet. Looking ahead, we expect stronger and clearer rules to shape how prediction markets operate. And now we'd love to hear from you. Have you used prediction markets? Do you agree with this analysis or do you see things differently? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm Giovanni. See you next time.